Hey guys, apparently my recording just abruptly stopped, so we'll just resume back from where we were in the palette class. So what we were trying to do is get the position, get the palette position right. So next is let's get the palette type. Palette type. Say get type. Let this be a const qualifier. That's simply going to return the palette type, which will be useful in let's say when the Pac-man tries to consume a palette. Now apart from that, let's just okay. So this is about our palette class. Next, we want to define two of the positions, two of the functions inside, or let's just start by writing the driver class itself, the game class, right? Let's do that first. So in the game class, we want to have a private variable that goes by game state. So we're going to record a game state, and we're going to start with the state and we're going to run with it throughout the game. So it's not going to be reinitialized or anything. I mean, it's going to work with the same game state variable. And apart from that, let's write some of the public functions of the game state. So let's simply initialize our constructor to take a game state pointer s. Let's say that's a start state. So we'll start with the starting state and we'll run with it. So our game state variable will be non-static assert, should be start state. So I think this should just build fine. Let's just try to build it. Okay, it does not name a type. Again, we are missing out on. Okay, this is what is the palette type, and we're trying to get the palette type right. Let's try again. Should build it. Fantastic. Great. So this is our bare bones skeleton. Now let's try to first initialize a simple game state. What we'll do is we'll write a simple trivial initial state variable, and let's just say we are going to derive our game board. So this is a reference because we would have initialized it already in our state. So let's just say that state dot board should give us the board that we have. This is an empty board and because we are accessing it via a reference, that's why we need to have an original object here. So state.board is just going to give us the address of the board, and when we try to dereference it, it's going to give us the actual object in memory, and that's what the board variable will be. So this board variable is a reference. Now what we want to do is let's try to get a very simple board position. I just try to draw it first here. Let me just let's say that our board size is 6x6, and so let's just say that this is our board. Excuse my drawing, never been very good at drawing. 4 and should be 5 and 6. Okay, this is just too bad. Well, I guess should be 4, 5 and 6. So let's have walls around our board in our simplest possible board configuration. So let's have walls all around it. Let's have walls all around it. And let's have walls in between. Let's have 2 of our ghosts at these positions, and let's say our pack sits somewhere here. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our Pac-man sits at the initial position of 1, 2, and ghosts will be at 2, 1, and the other one will be at 3, 4. It's good enough. So let's simply try to get this board configuration to at least display first. We'll say MB this should be an unsigned again. It's a very common mistake that people tend to make. It's better to use unsigned than int for things like sizes or dimensions. Board size, that should be board.size. Right. So let's iterate our board size, b size variable. Okay. So according to our board dot, it should have shown me something. For some reason it is not showing the suggestions. So let's just go and grab the update cell method. Update cell. So we want to so all these corner positions we want to fill it out with walls, right? So the 0th row and the 5th row and the 0th column and the 5th column, everything will be filled with walls along with the 4 wall entities in between. So what we'll do is, in the 0th row, and we want to fill it with a cell type of, oh, come on, why is it not wall type? Let's just hope that this doesn't give us any build errors. I think it will. Okay, so the 0th row is filled and 5th row is also filled. Let's also, so the 0th column should be filled and the 5th column should also be filled, right? And this should be 5, correct. So all these at least the corners, all the sides of the board are filled with the wall entities. Now let's just try to build this. I think it should build. Shouldn't be. It doesn't. Game board has no member name size. Why doesn't it have a? Okay, so yeah, no. Well, let's just say, because it's an object, right? It's not directly a vector. So let's just say row, board.row. This should work at least. Again, it doesn't. Do you mean rows? Correct. That's what I meant. Do I mean rows? Yes. Again, is private. Okay, that's private. So this is where our getter methods come into play. So I think it's get rows. This should work. And it does. So definitely works. Let's just try to, if we can try to render it, and well, let's say that board dot, there should be some render method in our board game. There it is, render board. Let's just try to display board first, and it won't display until and unless we have initialized our game driver variable, driver class. That should be easy. So just say new game class, but that's going to take a state, I believe. It's going to take a state. Great. So we'll need to also come up with a game state. So in order to have a game state, let's just say new game state. So for that we need to have a board. Correct. So let's go ahead and get a game board. Game board, let's say new game board. What's the size? Let's get the size from user. Let's define it as 6 for now, as we saw in our example. So let's say game board is going to be S by S. That's nice. Right, so game state is going to take a board to begin with. Great. What else? Let's just ask game state is also going to take Pac-man and ghost. Let's see what game state is going to take. It's also going to take a Pac-man pointer and a pointer of ghost. Right. So let's define our Pac-man object. Let's get our Pac-man at, as we decided, where was it? It was in 1, 2. That's where Pac-man is going to be. And let's get a vector of ghosts. Right, that's ghosts. So I'll just define these ghosts here itself. So 2, 1 was the first ghost, and I believe the other ghost was 3, 4. Right. So this will give us 2 ghosts. The next one should be our pack, and what else is the game state going to take? It's going to take a pointer of, okay, so now since this is a vector that's defined in main, so it's going to take a pointer, so the address of ghost, and I think this should be enough. So now we have a game state that we have initialized it with. Now let's just try to run with whatever is the game is trivial initial state. We'll just try to run it. Let's see, hopefully this doesn't show us build errors. Okay, lots of them. Okay, so first one invalid use of incomplete type. Pac-man, okay. What else does it expect? Okay, so we haven't gone with Pac-man yet, so unless and until we define all the classes, we are not going to have any first visual output. So let's go ahead and start to work with our classes. Pac-man class. Well, let's go ahead and define our Pac-man class. Right. So what does a Pac-man have? So Pac-man is going to have an initial position. Definitely, Pac-man is also going to have some of the getter and setter methods. That's what we are going to look at. So first, and it's also going to have a score. Let's define all those as our private variables. That will be row, call, these are the coordinates, and it's also going to have a score. It's going to have number of lives, right? So by default we're going to set number of lives as 3, and we also want to track if Pac-man is alive. So it's going to be alive when our game is first started. So we'll just write some of the Pac-man's private methods first. So that's one of the first things we want to do with it is update its position. Let's say this dot row star and this dot call place C. So its original the row and column is updated. After that, what we want to do is we also want to make it well, let's first try to define its public methods, then we'll handle how Pac-man is going to move. So first of all, let's define its constructor. So it's going to have a start row. That's again poor choice of type. Should be unsigned always. This is a mistake I've made a lot of the times by now. Start row, start column. So this is its initial position. Row is going to be start row and call as start call, right? And let's initialize its score to 0 at the beginning. What we also want to do is get its position. So unsigned and unsigned get position, right? Let's just have const qualifiers. Make pair. You could simply have returned it like this, but this just makes for a cleaner practice. Make pair. This should be row and score, right? We also want to get its score. Unsigned gets score. We want to make sure first that it is alive. So let's first have an assert is alive not live. Let's return its score. Let's also get the status, live status of the Pac-man. Pac live status. What we want to do is check if it's alive and make sure, and that we won't just be able to do with the boolean alive, because we also need to check if it is indeed live, which means that it needs to have number of lives is greater than equals to 1. So we'll just say that it's alive and number of lives should be greater than equals to 1. That's right. So instead of is alive, let's assert it with this function itself, pack life status, right? Wait. And we also want to change its live status. Let's just say this not is alive is whatever is the boolean variable that is passed, so that we can declare it dead or alive on our wish, as per our wish. We also want to be able to get Pac-man to get Pac-man to be killed. So what we want to do is, well, first of all, let's just get the number of lives. Get lives left count, number of lives that are remaining. Let's just return lives, right? And we want to, once we need to understand how the Pac-man is going to evolve through its journey, and that is where we need to have a kill Pac-man function. So we want to be able to kill it on demand and we also wanted to send a signal if the game has to be restarted when all of its lives have run out, or it still has lives left and we want to reset or at least begin the game from that state itself. So let's just first we'll define an enum that will say signal. Now let's just think about this. The signal should be game over, or start next life, start next life, right? So this is what we want to deal with. So we want to send a signal if it's dead or alive. Signal kill Pac-man. So we want to kill Pac-man on demand once it has hit a ghost. So once it has hit a ghost, or at least the post has got it. Let's first assert that it is indeed alive. So in order to make sure that it's lives pack live status, we want to make sure that at least it's alive when we're trying to kill it. Cannot be killed without a life left. That's right. So if lives is greater than equals to, well, let's just say if lives is equals to 1, then we'll say that, well, lives will go to 0, and so is alive will also be set to false, and we'll just simply display a prompt saying that game is over, and a little sad emoji. That's right. So I guess, and we'll simply return a signal. Finally, we'll say signal, and we'll say that start next life. Right. And if lives are more than 1, then what we want to do is give it another life. So let's just say that lives minus equals to 1, so that we have reduced this life because it's been killed and we need to restart it. So now let's say is alive as false. So this is an intermediate stage where it is being killed, right? Let's just say say Pac-man killed starting over and lives left. Let's just display this prompt and lives, and going to say that this is number of lives, and finally we return a signal as start next life. Okay, so no, this should be start next life, and this should be game over signal, right? So this is what on-demand killing Pac-Man would be. Right, so I think that's it for now. So we'll move on with the next video. Well, I guess this is it for this video then. Thanks everyone. Hope you enjoyed it.